Coming up on 5 Minute News. Mexico's Supreme Court makes abortion legal. Judge orders Texas to move Rio Grande barriers to embankment. And US to reverse Trump's Alaska oil and gas leases. It's Thursday, September 7. I'm Anthony Davis. The Supreme Court in Mexico has unanimously ruled that state laws prohibiting abortion are unconstitutional and violate women's rights, the latest in a series of victories for reproductive rights activists across Latin America. Wednesday's ruling came 2 years after the court ordered the northern state of Coahuila to remove sanctions for abortion from its criminal code, a decision which prompted a tortuous state-by-state process of legal battles. So far, 12 of Mexico's 31 states have decriminalized the procedure. The court's decision marked a major victory for reproductive rights activists. Mexican women took to social media to celebrate, posting green heart emojis in reference to Latin America's burgeoning feminist movement. But the ruling will not automatically make decriminalization the law of the land. Mexico's 2 congressional chambers will now need to come together to pass an accompanying law eliminating abortion from the country's penal code. This process could be fast, or it could take years, as happened with the court's ruling to decriminalize marijuana in 2018, which was not officially ratified by Congress until 2021, leaving the possession and recreational consumption of the herb in a legal gray area for 3 years. However, Wednesday's ruling will protect both women seeking abortions and healthcare workers involved in providing abortion care from criminal charges. Anyone with a uterus should also now be able to access abortions in federal health facilities across the country. The Mexican ruling also represents a further separation between Mexico and its northern neighbor, the United States, where the Supreme Court voted last year to allow specific states to ban abortion and criminalize both women who seek to terminate pregnancies, even if the fetus is not viable, and medical professionals providing the abortions. A U.S. judge ordered Texas to move floating buoys that were placed in the middle of the Rio Grande to block migrants from illegally crossing the U.S.-Mexico border, a tentative win for President Joe Biden, whose administration sued the state. U.S. District Court Judge David Ezra issued a preliminary injunction on Wednesday in Austin that requires Texas to relocate the buoys, currently near the city of Eagle Pass, to an embankment on the Texas side of the river by September 15. The Biden administration argued in a legal challenge that the 1,000-foot barrier illegally disrupts navigation and was installed without permission from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The ruling is a setback for far-right Texas Governor Greg Abbott. The floating barrier is one of multiple strategies Abbott had launched to deter migrants, including coils of razor wire placed along the riverbank. Mexico's government also issued a statement saying it remained attentive for the final resolution, reiterating the urgency of permanently removing the buoys on our shared border and the need to safeguard migrants' human rights. Abbott's border operations came under increased scrutiny in July after an internal trooper email surfaced alleging that Texas authorities had been ordered to push migrant children back into the river and deny water to migrants in extreme heat. Weeks later, a dead body was found stuck in the buoys. The Mexican government sent a diplomatic letter to the U.S. in June opposing the barrier, saying it violates a water treaty between the two nations and may encroach on Mexican territory. The U.S. Interior Department on Wednesday said it would cancel oil and gas leases in a federal wildlife refuge that were bought by an Alaska State Development Agency in the final days of the disgraced former President Donald Trump's administration. Trump's Republican administration issued the Alaska Industrial Development and Export Authority 7 leases in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge a day before the inauguration of President Joe Biden, who had pledged to protect the 19.6 million-acre habitat for polar bears and caribou. Environmentalists and an Alaska indigenous group praised the move, while a Republican senator from Alaska slammed it. Interior also said it would protect 13 million acres in the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska, a 23 million acre area in the state's North Slope that is the largest undisturbed public land in the United States. The agency would prohibit new leasing on more than 10 million acres, or more than 40% of the reserve. The action's the latest effort by Biden to rein in oil and gas activities on public lands, part of a broader agenda to combat climate change. Biden, who is gearing up to run for re-election in 2024, possibly against Donald Trump, also faces pressure to boost domestic fuel supplies to keep pump prices low. Earlier this year, Interior approved a $7 billion ConocoPhillips drilling project in Alaska that drew criticism from the United Nations, which has urged member countries to accelerate the transition away from fossil fuels. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.